Hey, Deb. What do you mean I have two lives? I just have this one. Sorry, I'm a little late. Hey, Mama Three. Hey, Deb. What lives are you talking about? I just checked. I just have this one. I didn't even have a live for today. I'll check on my channel. But yeah. What the fuck? Hospital ghost stories and slap ham saying live. Huh? That's weird. I already did that. It says 12 are watching. Okay, that's gotta be something. I gotta refresh that. Okay, I was gonna say. No worries. A lethal marriage. Oh, that was for yesterday. I already changed the date on it. I don't know why it's not changed on here. Weird. I'll change it after because it was for Monday and I didn't do it. I canceled it on YouTube, but for some reason, I'll fix it. How was it limited already? Haven't even done anything. It's scheduled for tomorrow. That's it. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why it's showing up like that for you guys. Really? That's weird. Well, hello, Claire. Why? She's allowed to have your share. She's allowed to get her pets. I know. You look at her face, you meanie. Oh, how could you do that to Claire? Meanie. All right. So yeah, yesterday when I was talking about that, um, talking about Cody, how he was convicted of murdering three women and one child. I mean, it just pissed me off. It started to remind me of this other guy, Peter Woodcock, who later on in life, as I would become to know him as David Michael Kruger. I didn't know any of this at all because in Canada, we're not allowed to know shit. They just let these assholes out and they do whatever the fuck they want. I rode the bus with this guy. I'll have to show you what he looked like. He died at the age of 71 in 2010, but I'll show you what he looked like when I met him. So Peter Woodcock, David Kruger, not to be confused with David Kruger, a Swedish songwriter. Yeah, he died of natural causes. He's got four victims. David Michael Kruger, March 5th, 1939, and he passed March 5th. Really? He was born March 5th and died March 5th. That's kind of weird. Born 19 March 5th, 1939, died March 5th, 2010. That ever weird. Oh yeah. No, thank you, Deb. He's best known by his birth name, Peter Woodcock. He was a Canadian serial killer, a child artist. Sorry, trigger warning. This freaking guy. It'll piss you off when you find out that he gets out and then kills someone again. So he was a serial killer, child artist, and a diagnosed psychopath. But he got a day pass on the bus, guys, and I got stuck with him. Imagine that. I'm pissed. He gained notoriety for the murders of three young children in Toronto in the late 1950s, as well as for a murder in 1991 on his first day of unsupervised release from the psychiatric institution in which he had been incarcerated for his earlier crimes. He was an adopted child. Kruger lived in numerous foster homes as an infant and showed signs of severe emotional trauma when he found a permanent foster home at the age of 3. Unable to adjust to social situations, he was bullied by his peers. He would often wander from his home by foot, bicycle, or train to parts of Toronto where he would, oh my God, where he would molest dozens of children and ultimately murder 3. Found not guilty by reason of insanity for his crimes, he was sent to a psychiatric facility. Psychiatrists placed him in experimental treatment programs for psychopathy, but those treatments proved ineffective when he murdered a fellow psychiatric patient in 1991 after his death. Well, that doesn't make sense. He murdered a fellow psychiatric patient in 1991. After his death in 2010, he was described in the Toronto Star as a serial killer they couldn't cure. You can't cure hardly any of these people. Not one that I know of. Hey, Great Dane Mom. It is scary. That's why I wanted to go over this with you guys because it's just unbelievable. Because I took the bus because I worked at the superstore and I lived in Brockville. That's where he was living at the site. And I remember every day when I had to take the bus to go to work, he would get picked up at the psych, and I'm like, why are all these psych patients coming on this bus? Are you kidding me? And if he's a psychopath and you can't change him, why is he unattended with the other 3? Oh yeah, get this. Then there was the other guy who cut his mother's head off and is allowed on a day pass every single day and used to get ice cream at the mall we used to have in Brockville as well. Same psych ward. Yeah. His early life. So Peter Woodcock was born in Peterborough, Ontario, to a 17-year-old factory worker, Waida Woodcock, who gave him up for adoption after breastfeeding him for a month. Adoption agency records put that the newborn, Peter, showed feeding problems and cried constantly. As an infant, he stayed in various foster homes, unable to bond with any of his foster parents. After his first birthday, he became terrified of anybody approaching him. His speech was incoherent, described as strange, whining animal noises. He was also physically abused by at least one of his early foster parents, with a 2-year-old Woodcock having to be given medical treatment for an injured neck after receiving a beating. He was placed into a stable home at the age of 3 with the foster parents Frank and Susan Maynard, an upper middle class couple with another son. Susan Maynard attached to the maladjusted child who would still scream when someone approached him by the age of 5, Woodcock remained socially maladjusted and became the target of neighborhood bullies. See that right there? That breaks my heart. But then I got to remember what he fucking did to these kids. Just because it happened to you doesn't mean you get to do it. Worried about the child's fragile emotional state, Frank and Susan would regularly bring him to the hospital for sick children, where Woodcock received extensive treatment. Woodcock was sent to private school, but again failed to make friends or interact successfully with his peers and remained isolated. By the age of 11, he was described as an angry little boy. Children's Aid Society report on him from that time read. Oh, wow, they actually added the report. Slight in build, neat in appearance, eyes bright and wide open, worried facial expression, sometimes screwing up of eyes, walks briskly and erect, moves rapidly, darts ahead, interested in questioning constantly in conversation. He attributes his wandering to feeling so nervous that he just has to get away. In some ways, Peter has little capacity of self control. He appears to act out almost everything he thinks and demonstrates excessive affection for his foster mother. Although he verbalizes his resentment for other children, he has never been known to physically attack another child. Yeah, until later. Peter apparently has no friends. He plays occasionally with younger children, managing the play. When with children his own age, he is boastful and expresses determinedly ideas which are unacceptable and misunderstood. Signs of Woodcock's violent fantasies were present at this time also, seen when a social worker was walking with him in the Canadian National Exhibition, and Woodcock muttered, "I wish a bomb would fall on the exhibition and kill all of the children." Wow. That's not a sign. I don't know what is. Woodcock was sent to a school for emotionally disturbed children in Kingston, Ontario, and began acting on his strong sexual urges with other children. With Woodcock stating that here he had consensual intercourse with a 12-year-old girl when he was 13. When he turned 15, he was discharged from this school and returned to live with his foster parents, but was soon re-enrolled at his original private school, where he again failed to connect with his peers. At the age of 16, he left the private school again and was sent to public high school, where children from the neighborhood instantly recognized him and resumed the bullying. He transferred to a private high school 6 weeks later. While his peers again shunned him, his teachers there remembered him as a very bright student who excelled in science, history, and English, and who frequently scored 100% on his tests. I want to know what the hell he did to these kids to make him get bullied. Of course, as soon as I get home, the pharmacy calls that my meds are right. Oh, yeah, of course, right. Always happens that way. So his early crimes, and I was, I remember going over this case years ago, but the only thing I remember of him is him being on that bike. So earlier crimes, Peter Woodcock's prized possession was a red and white Schwinn bicycle on which he satisfied his continuing compulsion to wander. He rode the bike to the far reaches of the city, even during the deep, cold Toronto winters, and evolved a fantasy in which he led a gang of 500 invisible boys on bikes called the Winchester Heights Gang. The F? What? His foster parents were aware of his fantasy and his compulsion to wander, but they were unaware that he had begun traveling around Toronto on his bike and sexually assaulting children. The murder of Wayne Millette. On September 15th, 1956, a 17-year-old Woodcock was riding his bike around the grounds of the exhibition place when he met 7-year-old Wayne Millette. He lured the boy out of sight and then proceeded to strangle him to death. Millette's body was found in the early hours of September 16th. It appeared that his clothing had been removed and had then been redressed. His face was pushed into the dirt, and 2 bite marks were found on his body, on one of the boy's calf and the other on his buttock. There was no evidence of R. However, pennies were found scattered near the body. Woodcock had defecated next to the victim as well. Toronto police initially arrested and interrogated another boy, Ron Moffat. The relentless questioning, they extracted a confession from then 14-year-old Moffat. Despite witnesses who clearly placed him in a movie theater before and after the murder of Wayne Millette, he was found guilty and sentenced to youth detention. Canada's so fucking stupid, I'm telling you. Eventually, police acknowledged There was a serial predator in Toronto. Yeah, after how many murders though? But Moffat was not released. Wow. However, when notes were shared between forces, Woodcock was arrested. After his conviction, Woodcock was called as a defense witness for Moffat. The wrongful murder charge was stayed in 1957, and Moffat was released from custody. Nate Henley published in 2019 an account of Moffat's experience. The boy on the bicycle. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine that poor kid's experience. He didn't do it. Murder of Gary Morris. On October 6, 1956, Woodcock was riding his bike around Cabbagetown when he picked up 9-year-old Gary Morris. He then drove the boy to Cherry Beach, where he strangled and beat him to death. With a coroner later determining that Morris had died from a ruptured liver. Morris's body was found with a bite mark on his throat, and this time paper clips seemed to have been ritualistically sprinkled near the corpse. Again, the clothing had been removed from the victim, and then he had been redressed. Murder of Carol Boyce. On January 19th, 1957, Woodcock was again riding his bike when when he approached a 4-year-old, Carol Boyce, and offered her a ride. He then drove her under the Bloor Viaduct and murdered her. When she was found, her clothes had been pulled off. It appeared that she had been choked into unconsciousness and then sexually molested, and that her death was caused by a tree branch being forcibly inserted. Yeah, I'm not even finishing that. Apprehension in the trial. Witnesses saw a teenager cycling away from Carol Boyce's crime scene, and an accurate composite sketch was created based on those witnesses' descriptions. The sketch ran on the front page of the Toronto Star and would lead to Woodcock's arrest on January 21st, 1957, and his subsequent confession to all 3 murders. He recalled upon his arrest, "My fear was that mother would find out." This sounds like a Bates Motel, Norman Bates. Mother was my biggest fear. I didn't know if police would let her at me. Woodcock was tried only for the murder of Carol. What? On April 1st, 1957, after a 4-day trial, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was sent to Oak Ridge Division of the Maximum Security at the Mental Health Center at Penticomachine, whatever he said, Ontario. Imprisonment. While in prison, Woodcock was diagnosed as a psychopath. He underwent various forms of psychiatric therapy, including, holy crap, LSD treatments when they were popular in the 1960s. Can you imagine? Doesn't that like make you see shit that's not there? Isn't that what Charlie Manson used to give to his victims? Hey, Jen. Hey, T King. I didn't know that. So he was treated with LSD treatments when they were popular in the 1960s. He was also given other personality breaking drugs, scopolamine, sodium amytal, methadone, and dexamol. He was subjected to dyads, a personality breaking therapy in which inmates challenge each other's belief systems, which inmates refer to as the 100-day Hayden. I, I've never heard of this. Dyads were developed in the late 1950s to the early 60s by a Harvard psychologist and former CIA interrogation and psychological warfare experiment. What? Henry A. Murray. Woodcock did not respond well to these treatments and was not an ideal prisoner. He engaged in coercive sexual acts and exploited his fellow inmates, who were often less intelligent or less sane than he was. He convinced inmates that he had contact with an imaginary gang called the Brotherhood. on the outside, and that in order to be initiated, inmates had to perform oral sex on him and bring him gifts of cigarettes. Woodcock was eventually transferred to a less restrictive institution and ultimately arrived at the Brockville Psychiatric Hospital. This is how I met this piece of crap. Here, Stapp indulged his passion for yeah, get this. He got rewarded and everything. I'm just like, really? Stapp indulged his passion for trains by taking him to the Smith Falls Railway Museum and even took him to see The Silence of the Lambs. You're in this site because you're insane and you're going to take him, a killer, to go watch The Silence of the Lambs. Really? That makes absolutely no sense. During this time, he legally changed his name to David Michael Kruger and rekindled a relationship with Bruce Hamill, an Ottawa killer. Oh my God, an Ottawa killer who had been released from Oak Ridge and was working as a security guard at the Ottawa courthouse. Kruger convinced Hamill an alien brotherhood would solve his problems if he helped kill another Brockville inmate named Dennis Kerr. I keep forgetting how sick this story goes. You're so stupid. What are you doing? He's not only got the zoomies, he's just jumping at nothing. Stupid ass. So the murder of Dennis Kerr. On July 13th, 1991, and he's in Brockville now. On July 13th, 1991, Bruce Hamill went to a hardware store, bought a plumber's wrench, hatchet, knives, and a sleeping bag, then went to the Brockville Hospital and signed out the 52-year-old Kruger on his first publicly escorted day pass. The murderer got to take out another murderer on a day pass. What could go wrong? How is that even allowed? Within the first hour of his first unsupervised release in 34 years, Kruger arranged to meet Dennis Kerr in the woods. When Dennis Kerr arrived, Kruger struck him in the head with the pipe wrench and continued to beat him into unconsciousness. Woodcock and Hamill then seized the hatchet and the knife they had hidden in the bushes while waiting for Kerr's arrival and hacked and stabbed Kerr, mutilating his body, nearly severing his head, and sodomized the corpse. Woodcock then left the scene, walked to a police station about 2 miles away, and turned himself in. The death for the murder of Dennis Kerr, Kruger was transferred back to Oak Ridge Division, where he had spent the majority of his 34 preceding years in custody. In the years after Kerr's murder, he was focus of biography and several documentary films. Yeah, I remember watching them. And sometimes tried to explain why he killed, but he never came up with rational reasons. He said in a 1993 interview, "I'm accused of having no morality," which is a fair assessment because my morality is whatever the system allows. On March 5th, 2010, his 71st birthday, he died of natural causes. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Trio. Hey, Jenny. Oh, yeah, no worries. Look at him there. Kids Who Kill, Peter Woodcock, a serial killer and child artist. Peter Woodcock was a Canadian serial killer and a child artist who brutally murdered three young children in the late 1950s. He underwent cutting edge, cutting edge, yeah, okay, LSD therapy at a mental hospital, but killed again when given a day off freedom. Woodcock was deemed to be psychopathic and dubbed by the media as the serial killer they couldn't cure. This was this photo here. It's not even if it's a drawing saying, "Do you know this boy?" This was on the Toronto Star front page news. Toronto, 1956, the police were trying to identify a mysterious teen who rode a bicycle whom they suspected of killing 7-year-old Wayne Millett. A few months earlier, the mother of a 10-year-old girl had filed a report against a much older boy named Peter Woodcock, huh, who had been around her daughter and was trying to talk to her into committing suicide. Holy crap. The police decided to pay a visit to Woodcock's home in order to advise his parents to keep a close eye on him. Upon seeing the sketch of the suspect in the Millette case, investigators were astonished at how much this ghost bike rider resembled Peter Woodcock. I just don't want to go over everything again. Yeah, he wanted to set up a big explosion and kill all the children in Canada. There's the victims. She's 4. Was 4 years old. 7 and 9. There he is. Son of a bitch. Right there. There's Bruce Hamill, who helped Peter to kill a fellow inmate, Dennis Kerr. He looks psychotic as well. During a BBC interview, Peter Woodcock stated, "I regret that children died, but I felt like God. It was the power of God over a human being. I got very little pleasure from anything else in life, but in the strangling of children, I felt a sensation and degree of pleasure and of accomplishment. Because it was such a good feeling, I wanted to duplicate it." A short documentary. Thought I had it already open, but apparently not. Hold on. Damn it, I have that Brockville Psych one. Where the hell is it? Okay, hold on. Oh, is that it? Oh, you! Okay, stop. Sorry. Um, hey, Patty. Hey, Kimmy. Thanks, Trio. That water is my washer, in case you're wondering. And the guy that I also stated, I think that's him right there. He cut his mother's head off and yet was allowed out every single day from the Brockville Psychiatric Hospital. And he went to the mall to Lower Secord to get ice cream. And my son's grandmother worked there. But I think that's the one I was talking about. Yeah, I just don't want to go over somebody else's work. I wanted to show that documentary that was on TV. Pretty sure this is it.
So this one is Out of Sight, out of Mind, Out of Sight documentary about the inside of Brock.
Pretty sure this is the one. Oh my god, it is too, Michael. There it is. I remember I went there.
This is not like a psychiatric unit at a general hospital where you would take your mother.
Get out of the room! Get out of the room! Fuck you! I'm gonna hit you! I'm gonna hit you!
You're yelling.
I'm angry!
Can you guys hear this okay?
Okay, she's yelling. Hang on, Justine and Richard.
Did you really, Jen? Yeah, this is the
Just come with me.
Brockville
That's not gonna
Psychiatric
help
Unit.
you.
They closed it down now.
we
Now
leave
these
this
people are all free to roam
Can
around.
we leave
He's
this?
telling me to leave
Justine?
the room. What do you want me to do? He won't do
Justine?
anything. He's like, oh, he won't turn it down.
Justine?
He won't do anything. He's not telling me
You're
to
not
turn it
listening
down.
right now. You're yelling. You're
Yes,
not
I am
using
yelling
your
'cause I'm
rational.
very mad.
You're not using your rational thinking. I need you to calm down. Walk with me so the guys can deal with him. Come with me.
The Brockville Mental Health Center is strictly a forensic psychiatry unit, which means every client here has some sort of criminal charge.
Well, then
Just
take it
listen.
away from
I
him.
can't. You need to not yell right now. You're yelling at me.
We'll take it away.
I've seen lots of violence over the years. Serious violence. We've had murders on this floor.
Murders, really?
The majority of people who have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, they don't have violent tendencies. But all our patients at some point displayed violence. They're stable, they're fine, but potential for violence is what got them here in the first place, not just because they were schizophrenic, because they were violent.
There's another one beside it too. It's oh my god, I can't remember the name of it. Elm Grove. They're on the hill, like where this is in Brockville. It's just the kind of like the outskirts when you're coming in. Like this is the first. Well, it's where the old folks homes are. There's like three of them in a row, and then it goes to the Brockville Psych, and then Elm Grove is like right beside it, and then right beside that is the treatment center for it's where the AA meetings are. All three of them. So Elm Grove, the Psych, and the treatment center. They all closed down. There's nothing in Brockville anymore. Absolutely nothing. They took the psychiatric patients that were dangerous and harm to others, and they put them in the Brockville General Hospital on the third floor.
Michael's a very warm, intelligent young man struggling with a devastating illness, which is schizophrenia. We have been able to get him quite well, but never into recovery. Essentially, what's been going on with Michael is that he has become quite sensitive in social situations. It's not really paranoia in the sense that you think somebody's going to harm you. It goes back to he has a feeling that people know what he did.
I know what you did. No. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is the one that chopped his
As a new
mother's head off.
patient, generally speaking, they'll start you up on the 4th floor. It's like school. B4 south is grade 1.
My God, it is
B3
too.
north is B2, or is grade 2. Down here south is 3, and what I'm on is 4, and you want to get out of here. This is the most secure unit of the 4 in the FTU. They're pretty caged in for the time being. They could come in on a serious crime. The staff wants to know if anything
Or
else.
makeup the
They
other
don't want
guy
anything
over.
else to happen. Anything
Oh.
else negative. They're strangers to each other too, so there's
Yeah,
a threat
it is
that
him, isn't it?
exists
Yeah, I thought
between
so. I haven't
co-patients,
seen this in a long
just as
time.
there's a threat between the staff and the patients at times. So it can be a hostile area.
Have you got a blanket?
He got out
These are
every
our
day.
most dangerous, most unpredictable fellows at the stand.
And he's in it for the
Our
most
guys are
dangerous,
fully
and yet they let him out every day. What the hell?
I don't think he even knows where he is at
I
all.
don't think he knows what's even going on.
Most of them are new people that we don't know that well, and they haven't been stabilized on meds.
So he's very unpredictable. Very, very good.
He's just very sick.
It could be very frightening if you weren't psychotic. And if you have to come
Look
in
at all the
and
people. I'd be
you're in for an
terrified too.
assessment
Can
and
you
you are
imagine?
horribly psychotic.
You just get there and you've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in there. Can you imagine? I'd be shaking my boots too. I'd be like, get the hell away from me. I wouldn't want all those people looking at me or even trying to talk to me. No, I'd be terrified.
I imagine it would be just a very frightening visit to the circus.
That's, oh my God, metal detectors yet.
Tell me
There
about
he
this
is.
program group. What are you taking?
The one I just finished was called Symptom Management.
Do they talk to you about if your voices return, how to handle that?
Oh yeah, for sure. They ask you, does it sound like it's a person talking to you, or does it sound like it's in your head? And you answer, no, I think it's a person talking to me, or whatever. They ask you what they say, the voices say. You tell them to say, I hate you, or I love you, or whatever they say, you know?
Can you tell the difference when the voices are real and when they're not real?
Well, I know my sister is here. I can tell. I know my sister's temper.
You know your sister's here?
And it scares me because I know she thinks I'm a loser.
Okay, but is your sister here?
No,
She's not?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Do you see her anywhere around?
No, but I hear her voice.
Okay.
I recognize her.
So can you tell that those voices aren't real?
No.
You can't. That's when you need to come staff.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
This is Germany. This isn't Germany. This is Rockville.
Yes, it's Brock, Ontario, Canada.
The people keep telling me it's Germany, and
What
I never
people?
studied. And
What people?
my sister.
But your sister's not here.
It feels like she's here. I know my sister's temper. My sister would get really, really angry at me.
I feel like this shouldn't even be shown. It's sad. I don't know. Should it be for people to be aware of what's going on? For this, I mean, I guess yes, but there's no more help for these people. It's gone. 3 buildings that are humongous, which had hundreds of patients, are all gone, sitting there empty.
It's all part of the voices that tell you things?
Yeah.
Bad for her.
Now, those are not what they call command hallucination. Command hallucinations are something different.
Yeah, right, Jen? Like, what
Yes.
the hell?
What are they?
Command hallucinations, from what I gather, are things that say, jump off this bridge. It's right there. Look, there's the railing. Jump off this
Yeah,
bridge.
you didn't do that, though. You cut your mother's head off instead.
There's a bridge there, and it's quite elevated over the highway. And on the highway, there's huge vehicles passing, right? So you're walking across the bridge, and the voice will say, "Now's a good time. Now's a good time." So that's what a command hallucination is, I think.
What kind of thoughts are you having right now?
I want to kill myself. I want to hang myself.
Okay. Carol, do you know us?
Yeah, I know
And
you.
we know you,
Yeah, I know.
and we know that you're a good person,
I think
right?
he's having a psychotic breakdown.
And we're here to take care of you,
Right.
and we're here to keep you safe.
I know that,
So
but I
that's-
don't feel loved.
Well, we're going to
Oh
keep
my
you
God, I
safe.
feel so bad
okay?
for her.
Yeah,
What I want to do is I'd like to help you with those thoughts because you're having really bad thoughts right now.
yeah,
And those thoughts right now are telling you that you're a bad person, that you've done things, okay?
right.
Which you haven't, right?
They're talking about me on the TV.
Those are the, And it's over.
They hate me.
Yeah, but people don't
Oh
hate
my
you here.
God,
You know,
poor girl.
we've treated you well, and that you've done well, and that.
I'm trying my best, but
It's gonna make me cry.
You know what, Carol, you're just having a bad day, right? Everybody's allowed to have a bad day. It's okay. Oh, no, it's okay.
I just want to say here, seeing the history in places like Willowbrook, and then seeing this actually gives me hope for an improvement in mental health care over the
Yeah,
years,
right now.
and the evolution of it to go from what it was to
Hey, Mike. Hey, Peter. How are you? Not too bad. You? Good to see you. I'm good. You too. Thanks. Johnny.
You got some salmon?
More than me, maybe. How you going?
The name of this person is Michael Roland Stewart. His date of birth is December 14th, 1978. His date of admission was March 22nd, 2005. His index offense is second-degree murder. Legal status is not criminally responsible, NCR.
Mike belonged to what would normally be considered the popular crowd. He was extremely self-assured, extremely confident, and top marks in the class. Lots of friends, girls and guys.
He's probably among the funnier people in the room, I think.
But he was just so sharp, such a good way with words, supremely confident. And this was certainly into the time where Mike had become sick. Spring of 1997. There seemed to be a difference in him right away, and I thought that he kind of became quite recluse.
I have no idea about schizophrenia, and I've always wondered, so you can just get it? You're not born with it, you can just get it. Yeah, that woman, right? And see, that's not see, if I were to see this then when it was open, I would have made sure I went there and visited, get like a pass where I can visit like at least the ones that aren't gonna attack me, just visit them every day, give them a hope, something, bring them book. Hey, Rebecca. It is sad. It shows around 20-ish.
He thought Mom had awoken him so she could read his mind a few hours before he went to school.
Do you see a big change in him today?
Oh, he's not the same guy at all.
From a nursing perspective, Mike is making slow, steady improvement, but some negative symptoms remain. His overall mood is good, but quiet. He spends a lot of his leisure time in the TV lounge, but does not socialize much with co-patients.
He's
Wow, he
always
doesn't.
struggled with the social aspect of the hospital, so he seems to do
That's
better
not
with
a
staff.
life.
To hang around with his peers, I don't think he's ever been very good at that.
He has become quite sensitive in social situations. He, for example, has turned down the opportunity to go into the community on his own.
Wow. He's very unstable. I wouldn't have let him out on his own. Wow.
We were talking, Mike, about not right now, but looking down the road, maybe in a few months or that, possible community placement options. Now, we're lucky with your disposition that we have all options open. Anywhere from group home to independent living to co-op.
Is that something you'd be ready for in the next couple of months, do you think?
Well, I don't. I just like to. Well, it's hard to say. I.
How about, in a couple weeks, we go out and look at the co-ops.
Couple weeks?
Yeah. Just look, not to move in, nothing like that. Or if you want, we could do it next month. I'll get a car.
I don't know why we're going so quick.
He doesn't want to go.
The next person we're going to conference today is Carol.
Then this is upstream.
Carol is a 39-year-old female.
This is what I call my imaginary friend.
Carol was found NCR on account of mental disorder on 2 charges of assaulting a police officer and 4 charges of assault on September 20th, 2010.
Head up.
From what I understand from her past, she would become very upset. She'd run into traffic.
Oh my God.
When you work, you gotta get up early, get showered, have to look appropriate for your job, you know, dressed in your best.
An ACT team worker came to visit. She didn't want the ACT team worker to leave. And she threatened to commit suicide, is my understanding. And as the ACT team worker was leaving, she jumped off a balcony.
Holy shit.
And that's how she got a lot of the orthopedic injuries that you see when she walks.
Oh my
Can you give me a
God.
sense of how many of the patients here are capable of serious violence?
Absolutely all of them.
Everyone.
Every single one.
Every single one of them.
Oh my God.
Carol
Yeah.
Seguin?
What the hell
Oh,
is
yes.
that?
Absolutely.
Carol is one of those people that there is no question. Once
She needs
once she
5
started to
yeah.
be a problem, you had to
That's
get out
not
with 5
funny.
point restraints, because if she couldn't get at you to hurt you, she would start smashing her skull on the wall.
Are you kidding me?
And you know within a few minutes of locking her, she's going to start whacking her head off the toilet or usually the cement walls. You couldn't listen to that. It was just awful.
So they did it, not because she was hurting herself, because they couldn't listen to it anymore.
The stickers are for good behavior, and it tells you that if you get 14 stickers in a row without missing one, you get to order out, or you can save your money for whatever you wish to buy.
Just schizophrenia starts showing usually around 20 or so. That's really, you taught psychology for 10 years? Oh, wow. Well, if I have any questions, I'll definitely be asking you. My father was manic depressive schizophrenic. It was genetic in this case. Really? My counselor told me there was 3 main categories to his mental hyper focus on sex, violence, and religion. I'm sorry. It can start early, but it's not common. Wow, I'm sorry. I don't like how they're tied up, but I don't know. I understand and I don't.
And if I miss one, it's tickable here, so I don't get one. But here, I had a perfect month, and over here, I had a perfect month.
She's like a
When you say bad
child.
behavior, what do you mean by that?
Yelling at staff, or refusing to take my pills, or refusing to go to my room when I'm upset, or getting into a fight with people, getting into an argument. I don't get a sticker.
And are you a bad girl often?
Yeah. That's hard for me to get a whole month of stickers. Bad behavior gets me in trouble, and I find it hard to be good.
Find it hard to be good.
Yeah.
And how are you doing so far this month?
Well, I'm off to a rocky start.
Awful females. They're the worst. I'm sorry, they are.
I didn't say that.
They're just, of course you didn't.
It's not funny.
I jumped on it.
Women make the worst patients.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just,
oh, absolutely. I agree.
There was no explaining how or why. It's just that way.
Just another day in the neighborhood.
59 patients here at the forensic treatment unit and about 5 female patients is quite a difference. The men are quieter. Michael is in for murder, and Carol is in for minor assaults. The men tend to cause more violent crimes on the outside world. And the women tend to cause more violence on the inside.
Oh wow, I cannot live. I would never be able to
It's
live.
still
like
true today as far as how we institutionalize, and if that is true, like at Acadia National Hospital here in Bangor, Maine. From my time experience, I notice this tends to be true, but it's also because the women are more likely to reach out, whereas the men have been taught that they don't show emotion, so they're less likely to reach out when they're having trouble and just do something. So
She was the most challenging patient by far, considered by all the staff.
Her arm.
The room number.
Hey, Nancy. These have been in for a week. Do you think you can take them out?
Oh my God, what'd she do?
These ones. They've been in for 8 days. They're only supposed to be in for a week.
Well, frankly, we're quite concerned about her and her recent self-harm attempts. She would come to us and say she really doesn't feel well. We'll ask her, in what way you don't feel well? She feels like cutting herself. She's told us she craves this. It's like an addiction, and she just has to satisfy this. And she'll keep wanting to do it until she actually does it. We've had 4 different cutting episodes, quite deep gashes on her arm.
Boy, you sure hurt yourself, eh?
I didn't do it as deep this time.
Mm-hmm.
That one was a bad one.
Wow.
Lots of stitches there.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think you do that?
Feels good sometimes.
We were also really concerned about a recent incident where she'd torn up a face cloth and tied it together to make herself a ligature. Tied it tightly around her neck and tried to strangle herself.
Holy shit.
When staff found her on the floor in the shower room, she was blue. We brought a noose cutter to that area, and they used it to cut the ligature off her neck.
Oh my
After
God,
that
look at
was
they actually
removed,
have
the color
what you
started
call a
to
noose knife.
return to her face, and she started to respond. So we just thought it was a close call. Then we're always watching for the next time.
Obviously not, if she's in the shower and she's done that and she's cutting herself. I mean, you're obviously not watching closely at all, if you ask me.
It was mostly because when you tie a string around your neck, you get really dizzy, and the feeling of being passed out feels good. It's like almost like a high.
I was bothered a lot by staff allowing patients to have sex with women. What the oh my God. They're like children. Their mental capacity is not there. I understand that. Yeah, I do just don't like it. But the way these people, staff were saying like, they were sick and tired of hearing them bang their head off the wall, so they finally tie her up. I'm like, that's why? Shouldn't it be because they're harming themselves? Like, yeah. Sometimes the staff laughs because of the stress. The only way to release the stress and get through the day. Yeah, I'm probably being too harsh. I've never been in that situation. Oh, you used to work in one? Okay. Ooh, orange chicken and rice. You got hit, spit in the face, had totally wild full moons and weather change. Oh my gosh. Brings out the crazy in you. It is really sad. And the full moon thing apparently works. My aunt worked in this Brockville psych as well. I'm not really too sure what exactly she did, to be honest, but I don't know. I don't think I could do this. Just like I couldn't work with animal. I would never become a veterinarian because I could not put an animal down. And if I'm sitting there and, they're saying, well, we don't have enough room, we got to put them down. No, I just, no. A friend of mine used to work in a state hospital dental clinic and was hit, bitten, and kicked more times than I could. Yes, that's so sad.
And that's what I was looking for, is that feeling that you get when you almost die. I like that feeling.
We did save her life. We did save her life. Yeah. You know, we know that it's all a matter of time with these strangulation attempts and so on. Sometimes it's just in a matter of time if we save them or not.
Lunch is now on the ward for the south side. Lunch is now on the ward. You want this
How you doing?
Hi, Mike.
I'm well,
Hey,
how are you?
Dad. How you doing? Not bad.
Michael, haircut?
Rebecca, yeah.
Looking good? How you doing?
Doing okay. Yeah.
You want to dip in?
Go for it.
When's the last time you had muscles, Michael?
The last time I had muscles?
Mhm.
Jeez, I don't remember.
Really?
QRCMP pulled up and asked us, is one of you Rebecca Stewart? I thought that Michael had killed himself because, again, that was always the concern. And he just said to call your dad. Dad picked up and said hello. I said hello. I said, what's going on? He said something very bad has happened. And I said, Michael's killed himself. And he said, no, Michael has killed your mother. And then I was caught off guard. And I said no, and he said yes. And then I think I said no again. And I was worked up, so I asked if I could call him back in a few minutes, get off the phone and call him back. He said I could do so, and then we hung up, and then I just started smashing the phone receiver into the phone, and kind of realized that I was in a public spot. So I went outside and just went for a little walk. And that was it.
That's always good.
Yeah, either way, I'm happy.
Can you imagine being in his sisters and father's shoes and brothers? I mean, I would imagine it would be hard to go visit this guy. You know, Claire, you know that he murdered your mother, but then again, you got to think this guy's hearing voices. He's a schizophrenic. He's not all there. Oh, that's good.
He apparently arrived at his parents' home in the early afternoon and waited in the house until his mother, the victim, arrived home between 3:30 and 3:45 p.m. He was reported to have confronted his mother, and then an altercation developed between the two. She eventually died from severe blunt trauma to the head.
She was a nurse who loved her profession and a community member who loved her community and a mother who loved her family.
Oh, poor guy.
Good morning. Here we are in Tommy Valley Goose Farm up in Douglas, Ontario. As you can see, well, it's Friday morning, September the 7th, the year 2001. And the sun has just come up, and you can see the mist through the rail fencing and, of course, the cattle. So, what a perfect day. Thank you for doing it.
I wonder what his motivation was. Why was they said he was sitting there waiting for his mother and they had an altercation. Like, is that what it was? He was just waiting for his mother. He already had it set in his head what he was going to do.
But you both look pretty pleased in that picture.
It's a cute photo.
We're dressed for
Yeah.
an evening out.
Pretty loud outfit.
And our mom's for it.
Which was typical.
Fairly standard, yeah.
She was a fashionista in her own right, I think.
She liked to dress up.
I don't think I've ever seen that
I've never
picture.
seen that either. It's beautiful.
It's a photograph of Mom I've not seen before, and it's a
Yeah.
great picture.
I can understand that.
Pensive.
What had Mike's relationship with her been like before?
She loved him very much, and he loved her very much too. And I think that where he needed very occasional emotional support, he got it in spades from her. You know, a mother who, for years after Michael became sick, would cry herself to sleep at a concern for him, and he knew that when he was well enough to know that.
I remember when she came here in 2005, she was like a wild animal. And she was in 5-point restraints because she was so wild and out of control. And in 2 years, she was stabilized, and she was the best that we could possibly do with her. Her risk was low enough to get her back out in the community.
Yeah,
and
right.
we had high hopes for her.
I really miss you. I wanted to know what happened to you. How are ya?
I'll tell you, I've seen Carol at her best, and if she's encouraged, it's very encouraging for me and the other staff.
Yeah, I don't think she should have went to Elm Grove. That's like a little bit lower security. I don't think she should be let out at all. Her temper is horrible, and she's like a child. I mean,
To see how she does.
I'm good. Oh, you okay? I'm good.
Hey, Carol. Hey. She can be kind. She can come up and give you compliments.
That's fine.
But on the flip side of that, 10 minutes later, she'll come up and call you a cocksucker and say she hopes that your kids die, and she hopes that, you know, you crash your car on the way home. I remember one morning she came up to me. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and she called me a cocksucker and hated me, and she was kicking out the door and punching at the door. And as she walked away, she said, "You raped me. You raped me. You came into my room at night and raped me." So I reported that, documented it, and I thought that it might not go any further than that, but it did.
she almost looks drunk.
Well, what I heard is you went running down the hallways yelling, "Rape, rape, you raped me." And
I said that?
That's what I heard.
I didn't say that though.
Okay. Well, that's what I had heard. And with the way things are in society, it can really put staff, especially male staff, in a really difficult position.
No, I never said
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I think you heard wrong. Maybe I
Okay.
said something different, but I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, I'll look back in the chart as well, but that's
Or
what
I
I
looks
could
like
have
a
heard
blonde
somebody
Roseanne.
else's voice. It sounded like me. I don't know.
Mhm.
I never said he raped me.
Okay.
Never. I swear to God, honest to God, I shake your hand on it.
Okay, so with her being a schizophrenic and stuff, could it be possible that she like literally doesn't remember that she even said those things? Or is she just trying to get out of it because she feels bad? Good night, Patty. Poor girl's got no teeth. It's gonna be hard to smoke that thing. Or eat.
Do you ever come down here aside from visits, Mike?
My God, that's right on the river.
Not really.
I used to live a couple blocks up from that.
Following this
Blockhouse.
attack on the mother, Mr. Stewart then called 911 at about 4:05 p.m. He was
Why is it
found in the
OPP?
house when the police arrived. He was then arrested, escorted
Oh,
out of the
he
house,
was in Renfrew,
and
never mind.
transported to the Renfrew OPP office. He remains reluctant to discuss this in detail, as he reports that he finds the whole incident difficult to discuss at this time.
Do you ever talk with family about what happened?
We talk about other things.
Yeah, it's the hypersensitivity to social situations. So he stays with staff. He's worried about going into the community because he thinks people know who he is and what happened.
How do we get him
Well,
past
that's
that?
the
How do we
thing.
get
When
him?
this documentary and stuff came out, people did know who he was and what he did. Now everyone knows. Like,
Who do we have in our team that can get him?
I don't think he wants to talk about it. I mean, you got to be. I don't want to stir up something.
yeah, that's what I
not
thought. She
gonna-
might not even
I
remember
mean,
what she said.
I think for the moment, I think just let's leave it and see where he goes with it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready to make a confession, and that confession is that I kind of lied when I said that Margaret that I didn't say that Margaret raped me, because I did say that Margaret raped me, but I didn't remember having had said that.
Did Mr. Earl ever touch you inappropriately or rape you?
No, it was all in my mind. It was voices.
I do believe that the female patients here do cause more turmoil. They can be quite aggressive in their acting out, banging on walls, actually putting holes in walls too. It's incredible to imagine that a female patient could do that, but it really does happen.
I could see it.
That would be Carol.
I used the palm of the ball of my hand to smack right into the wall. And I went with force until I punched the wall about that deep. And that went into the wall. And people were a little bit scared of me.
You think?
This is hole number 1.
That's hole number 1. Oh my god.
Hole number 2. And hole number 3. And hole number 4.
Did you injure yourself?
No.
Your hand didn't hurt?
No, just her
after
leg
putting
when she
four
jumped
holes?
off the balcony.
It stung a bit, but I didn't hurt myself. I didn't cut myself or anything.
Have you ever seriously injured anybody?
Not seriously, no.
What's the worst that you've done in your life?
Give them a black eye.
That's the worst physical injury you've inflicted on anybody?
Yes. Absolutely.
I think he suffers every day from the loss of his life, the life that he could have had. And he doesn't speak of it much, but he has spoken of it from time to time.
So I've made strides, but I want to make it so I can like hold down start with hold down some kind of a job and then see if
The fact that he mumbles and stumbles a lot, could that be a side effect from the drugs that he's on? Is this how a schizophrenic would act? Terrified of the world and just saw him not talk and not in the TV room, he was closing his eyes and just sitting there. No interaction, nothing. Is this how normal, is that what, sorry, I'm just curious. If anybody knows.
see if I can try to salvage something here of my life because
Hey, Rebecca, have a good night.
I'm a little old for college or university.
How old are you?
I'm 33 years old. So that leaves me with another option, right? I can get work. Now, I think for someone with my limited qualifications, it may have to be in something like retail to start.
I know that it's there with him. He would like to have a life.
I don't think he wants a life. I think he's happy and content where he is. Maybe not happy, but safe.
How did it start with you and Sal?
I was attracted to him at first. That he was a good-looking, handsome guy, and that he was a gentleman. I
Yeah,
didn't
this
know him
should
very
not be
well, but
allowed.
He would go like that, put my hair over my ear like that. He'd go like that, mess with my hair, and then if I wanted to go out with him.
What about girls? You had a relationship with a young lady here?
I have to have a relationship with her.
That's Carol.
Carol.
The female patients here, all of them just want to be an ordinary woman.
Thank you. Thank you.
They still want to get married and have children and have a house and they have the same dreams and aspirations. And for some reason, they're all of a sudden put into this position where everything stops. Their whole life and their dreams change.
Sun's shining today. My baby's looking at me. And I'm looking at him right now. Making him smile. This song I made up. So don't get me wrong. I know my own song. If you know what I mean, you're the one for me. He knows who I'm talking about.
You know, she's just having a happy old time.
Yeah, it's music is a wonderful thing. You know, it's just a form of expression. Anyways, I'm going in. It's too cold.
One day he just said, I'm ready and I want to go into the community. And that then gave us the reason to go ahead.
I have recently got the privilege where I can go into the community unescorted, but I have to fill out an itinerary. Okay, thank you. Detailing where I'm going, what
Whenever he's
streets
going to
I'm
mention Laura
taking,
Secords for ice cream.
and the different times I'll be at the different landmarks. It's supposed to be down, almost down to the minute. Okay, thanks, Bob.
All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Yep.
It's my favorite river. His name's Sam. Samuel.
Oh, okay.
I named him that. So I always wanted a boy, and
Me too, great
my
Dane.
boy died at birth. So I thought if they gave me a large teddy bear, and maybe it would take the pain away. So he's been, even though he's not real.
For all I know, these
he
people are
still
in the
helps.
streets.
I still snuggle him, hold him, hug him, kiss him. Like he was an actual boy. It's like the Pinocchio story. The boy becomes real. The wooden doll becomes a real little boy because he learns to stop lying. And the boy that had Pinocchio as like a doll friend always believed that he was real, and he did become real in the end. But I don't know, he'll never become real.
I was just saying, yeah, I agree. He should have a GPS monitor on him. And I also agree that there's no way no, she's not mentally competent at all. And they're talking about how they're going to let her go. Or they're crazy. She can't ever be let out, ever. And now that all these buildings have closed down, for all I know, they're just living on the streets. There's not enough facilities for people like this that actually need help. There's nothing here. They closed everything. I still don't understand why. Because I know they all didn't fit in the Brockville General Hospital. There's no goddamn way.
He's still my baby.
James Stewart. Oh, it's gone.
People suffering from schizophrenia and major depression with psychosis kill family members.
Why though?
Once they recover, they then realize that they've done this terrible, terrible thing. He still hasn't forgiven himself. I mean, I see him every week or two. I struggle with, he knows intellectually that he was mentally ill at the time.
They don't even have a set schedule. That he just said every other week or two. No wonder why nobody's getting better.
Has never, ever forgiven himself.
He killed his mother. Of course he
Compounds
can't forgive himself.
his sorrow when he knows that we've lost our mom at his hands as well. one can only imagine the horror that he experiences in those moments when he allows himself to recall that day. And I don't know what would be worse, whether the days when he's perfectly lucid are more painful for him to endure, or the days when he's not well. But I can only imagine that it's a living hell every single day.
That's
And
creepy.
some days are worse than others.
He scares me.
Let me just ask you before we continue. Are you okay?
I think I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. You'll say so. If you need to stop, if you want to stop it, it's okay. It's cool, man.
Okay.
Okay.
It was foggy in the beginning. I had trouble accepting my diagnosis, and there was a time when I had things were all well with basically anyone that I knew. I didn't really have enemies, and then and I never really, so I didn't have any enemies. So why would I do something like this to someone that I it's
Yeah, he's like effed.
like right after
He can't
like
take care of himself. There's no
we're
way.
talking days. I was calling them and asking for forgiveness days. Like it'd be weird because like I would if I was feeling particularly bad, I would call my dad or my sister or something like that, and I would just say, oh, I'm feeling horrible. There'd be no line like sense to the conversation. It'd be just me saying, I'm sorry, you forgiveness and trust are such
This is the most he's talked throughout this whole documentary. Wow.
slow things to earn that it's like I wanted I wanted to make sure like I just wanted to
Exactly,
call them and
Jen.
make sure that they would
Oh wow,
well,
Regan,
I
I'm
was fearful
sorry.
that I would be abandoned, so
You all love and support Michael?
Unreservedly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
but and now it's turned to the fact that I've come to realize that my immediate family are my they're for some unknown reason they've stuck by me. So
The question of how we could forgive someone like Michael is a classic example of blaming the victim.
Wow.
Seems like such an obvious analogy, but you don't forgive someone for contracting their cancer. Mom unfortunately lost her life, but it's important to keep in mind that there are two victims in this story.
Yeah, I do
And
believe
one of them
that
happens
too.
to still
I
be
do
suffering.
believe Michael's a victim as well.
Michael survived the terrible event, but he continues to suffer.
it seemed like the
He's not well.
positive memories and the negative memories both caused me pain because look what I've done. It's I've impacted so many, like I've impacted this network of people.
I think that with the loss of a loved one, with an act of unthinkable violence such as this, our instinct is to look for the faults, look for the cause of it. But we make a terrible mistake to think that cause rests with Michael himself. The cause of this tragedy is a mental disease. It's a mistake to say that Michael was himself her killer. I mean, her killer was schizophrenia. The cause of her death was this disease.
I agree.
I'm not able to grieve the way I'd like to.
And honestly, I'm so happy that his family feels the same way because I don't believe for 1 second this man would have done that without having schizophrenia. No way. He's this is an actual person with a mental illness. He is sick. Um, I don't know, I get annoyed when people use their mental illness to blame things on that when they don't have it or they pretend to have it or it's something minor. I've had friends like that and it pisses me off. This is somebody who is an example of someone who is mentally unwell. And yeah, I see what he did and it's horrible. But I'm still on this guy's side.
I have some grief, but it's
Yeah.
not it's not a feel good grief, which I imagine because from what I know, from what I know, some people grieve loved ones with fond memories, whereas I'm not. I'll just
I wonder if he's allowed to visit his mother's grave.
say this: I'm grieving. Like it's like if I grieve, unless there are odd moments that contradict this, or not odd, but spare occasional moments that contradict this. But for the most part, I grieve alone.
The hell just happened?
Carol, I understand you have a big surprise for us today.
Teeth!
So I got new teeth, tops and bottoms.
Wow. Wow. That looks really great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I feel like $1,000,000.
Aw.
Can you take them out?
It's probably so awkward. You don't have teeth forever, then you put them in.
What teeth you have? Okay. Yeah, very good.
Have people noticed?
Oh yeah, everyone's noticed.
What are they saying to you?
They're saying I look great.
Hey, Crystal.
That's
That's her boyfriend.
Take that out of my camera. Hey, your butt's really cute. Oh. Don't start that in here. When you're stop.
Jill, what's the white pill is?
I guess the bottom line is I'm out of the hospital, so I'm quite happy that
Wait,
I got
what?
this far, and this is my my apartment. I'm living here with another guy, and I'm still getting used to it, but that's where I'm standing now. From
I don't
2
know
or 3
about
days
that
after I
one.
got here, I'm happy I made the step.
He meets a former patient of a non-forensic mental hospital.
So you've made strides, initial strides to, to get out here in the community. And
I mean, at least he's
make a
out
life here in
skating.
Brockville.
That's good for him.
For sure,
I'm just
it's like I try to keep busy.
worried.
Well, what's your diagnosis of schizophrenia? Or just plain nuts?
No.
Oh, nice.
And now that I'm here, it's
No.
like at some point I'm starting to get optimistic about maybe at one point making further steps. But the idea is to kind of take it somewhat slowly.
What medication do you take?
Yeah, I take twice a day. I take medication, right?
Yeah, and you find it helps?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, you'd be pretty goofy.
Right.
He does seem like he's doing a heck of a lot better, actually. I just hope it stays that way. Well, I was just gonna say that too. Are they monitoring it? How do they know he is taking them? Do they show up if he has to take it twice a day? I'm assuming it would be in the morning and the evening. Do they show up and with this medication, and make him take it, or do they just throw him in a house and leave him there? Because I don't know, it just a lot of these people I don't think should have left. I just want to see what they say. A year ago. I spent time in the two psych wards at 3 different times, and watching this documentary makes me relive my stance at those places, and they're just awful places. I feel for these people's souls. Yeah, this person, they're like, "Great documentary, and it's eye-opener too. Now I have a different opinion about mental health issues and feel more compassion. I wish these patients all the best." So that's good. That's why I think a lot of people should watch this. There was a documentary about him. He is very intelligent in school, loves sports, involves all kinds of blah, blah, blah. Of course, he ended up getting sicker with the voices. Kills them. Eventually, he does leave. Yeah, has an apartment. Yeah, his family visits, takes him places. I wonder. Yeah, I want to know. Is there an update? Michael Stewart was no way. Oh, okay. I was gonna say not again. He was charged with 12 murder 12 years ago, yeah, and found not criminally responsible. He lives in an apartment near the Brockville Mental Health Center and must comply with strict rules imposed by the Ontario Review Board, including staying on antipsychotic medication. Yeah, that's not an update. We just learned that. I'm gonna read it. Balls. Hey, Emily Cow. The place I worked at didn't monitor them once they left the main building and went into halfway. Yeah, that's what it is, right? Like a halfway house type thing. Well, it's a good documentary that we watched, Heavenly Cow, and then I was talking about Peter Woodcock, which is bad. But now I'm gonna go because I have been on here. Yeah, I've been on here for quite a while. I should go. I can see if my son's got homework again. Actually, I need to know how he did on that test. We studied pretty good last night. You didn't want to cuss. Hunter Pulse was great. All right, you guys have a great night. Today's Wednesday, right? What's Thursday? Shit, what's Thursday? What's Thursday? Oh, you can watch the replay. I think tomorrow's Jack the Ripper. Okay, I think so. I'm sure I'll figure it out. All right, you guys have a good night. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.